I suck at finishing games. I have an entire category in my Steam library dedicated to all the games I started that I haven't finished, fittingly titled Graveyard. But now I'm getting sick of it because not only is it contributing to lost money, but it's also triggering my organizational OCD because I don't want to have games in my library that I haven't finished. And I've been thinking about it a lot lately because I want to fix it. But to do that, it's important to know why it's happening. I've been searching around to see what other people explain to be the reason, and quite often I see it being attributed to our short attention span. Social media, but more importantly short form content, has had a chokehold over us for some time now. It's so easy to pick up your phone, open up TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and just swipe, losing hours in the process without you even realizing. This has wrongly been explained as having a short attention span, but it's more of a case of trying to quickly achieve a dopamine rush. Dopamine is described as a feel-good hormone, and humans are naturally hardwired to seek it out. Short-form content conveniently gives us this hormone in a matter of seconds versus minutes or hours from other tasks. Why would we willingly spend longer on a task when we can achieve the same feeling and satisfaction through TikTok? And if one short is not doing it, then swipe up and you get another short. What's interesting is that I'm not addicted to short-form content. I do watch shorts sometimes, but more often than not, my weakness is the YouTube homepage, and I don't think it's talked about as much as short form content. The homepage used to be where you would see videos from your subscriptions, but long gone is that era, and now it's curated just like anything else with what YouTube thinks you'll like. And it's bloody good at its job, because the moment I open up YouTube, regardless of what I had set my mind to, I see all these videos with attractive thumbnails that I just want to watch. What then ensues is exactly what happens to most people on TikTok. Lost hours and nothing to show for it. Then there's the fact that games do not provide an instantaneous dopamine rush. Multiplayer games are now being designed to give you those instant boosts of dopamine, but single player games are a journey. So even if you've already started a game, it becomes harder to continue that game over multiple days and weeks. Burnout can be in different ways. We can feel burnt out in general with everything happening in our lives, or we can feel burnt out with games. If you feel burnt out with games, then that's totally normal. That's just a part of life, and our minds and habits are ever changing, so just take a break. It's okay. What's harder is feeling burnt out with everything and then trying to slot in video games somewhere into our day. Very few of us have video games as a job, so we have to treat it like any other hobby. We have a limited amount of hours in a day, and not to be morbid, but a limited amount of years on Earth. We can't do everything. We can't give equal time to every hobby, and we need to sacrifice, pick and choose what's more important to us in that given moment. Sometimes video games get pushed all the way down our list of things to do because realistically, they're very unlikely to be as important as anything else. Unless of course it's your job. Then when you do find some time, when you're so excited to finally sit down and play something, you just end up having no energy. You want to play, but you feel so exhausted and burnt out with everything that happened during your day. If you force yourself to play, then you'll end up hating that game. And if you don't play, then you'll feel bad because you love video games, right? For me, fortunately, I'm not burnt out with gaming. I tend to feel burnt out due to things happening outside of my control that require my attention. When I get time to myself, it makes me reach for the easy ways to relax instead of playing games. That puts me into a weird predicament because when I return to said games, I might just not be interested in them anymore. I might not even remember where I left off and what I was doing, and now I either have to continue, bash my head against the wall and figure out what the hell it was that I was doing, or I restart however many hours I've played to risk running into the same reason I stopped in the first place. One thing that we take for granted nowadays is just how easily accessible video games are. Gone are the days of going to a media store to rent games because at the click of your finger, you can buy any game that you ever want. Another hobby that I'm really into right now is reading, and something that I see quite often in that hobby is just how prevalent overconsumption is. There are a lot of creators that pop up on my feeds that get a lot of views on content about buying books. It's actually insane because it feels as if buying books is a completely different hobby to reading books. When I see those videos, I feel lucky that I'm not like that, and that I don't think I'll ever be like that, but what I don't realize is that I'm very much like that when it comes to games. I don't own any consoles, so for me it's just a Steam store, but the amount of sales that run on that platform and how significant they can be gives such a massive FOMO of not owning that game, even if I'll never play it. I remember quite a long time ago, before 2020, there was a bundle of series of games. I think it was the Deponia series plus some other Daedalic games. I knew I was never going to play them, but I remember there being a ridiculous discount on the series, something like $40 down from $200. That to me felt like such a steal that I could never forgo buying it. Did I ever touch those games? not at all, but I justified owning them because I saved $160. Now, they're not even in my library because a few years back I cleaned up and removed games that I knew I would never touch. Having a library with so many games just leads to decision paralysis when you finally sit down to play something. You have so many options and choices in front of you that you just lock up because you don't know what to pick. You feel overwhelmed, and in that moment, not playing anything is easier than playing something. See, I thought I could get around this by having a folder in my Steam library named Queued for games that I knew I wanted to play. However, even that folder got flooded and now I'm trying to figure out something else. Having video games be so accessible is truly a double-edged sword. So what am I actually doing to fix this? Well, I've got a few things that I want to try out, some which I've already started to implement. Firstly, I just want to play without a browser open on my second monitor. I tend to have a browser tab open and more often than not, it ends up being the YouTube homepage, so I just get very easily distracted. I want to try to not have any browsers open while I play, but if I must, then I have installed this extension called Unhook, which I saw in a Jack Sather video, and it basically wipes out your homepage so you don't see anything that will distract you. But you have to turn it on manually, which requires self-control, and if you have that, then you wouldn't really be in this situation, but I digress. Let's see how it works out. Also, a long time ago, one of my managers introduced me to the concept of Pomodoro timers because I had mentioned that I found it hard to focus. So I've actually been using somewhat of a pseudo Pomodoro timing technique to play games. Sometimes it feels quite hard to hit the play button on a game. It's almost always harder than actually playing the game. Similarly, when you're procrastinating certain things like chores, it's often because of the same reason. But a trick that they tell you to use to help with procrastination is just to tell yourself you'll spend 5 minutes on it, and more often than not, the chore itself was less than those 5 minutes. So I'm combining this with the Pomodoro timing technique, which is why I call it pseudo Pomodoro. Basically, I got myself this timer last year and I used it for focus blocks because trying to set up a Pomodoro timer on my phone or in the browser just had me getting distracted. And also, there's something so satisfying about doing it physically. Anyways, when I want to play a game, I set this timer to 1 hour. I pretty much only have 1 hour at a time to play, so it fits perfectly. But the act of setting that timer gives me such a boost of motivation that it helps with getting locked into playing the game. And what I've found is that once that hour is up, just getting up to get water helps me reset something internally, and I'm able to lock in again for another hour without getting distracted. And if I'm so locked into the game, sometimes I play through another hour without resetting the timer. It actually works wonders, but that's probably because I've got a smooth brain. When I see overconsumption in BookTube or BookTok, I see those creators putting limits on how many books they can buy per month. And honestly, overconsumption in the gaming space can really be solved by the same tactic. But I've also started doing something I read about a long time ago. Add an item to your cart that you're excited about buying. Leave it there and don't buy it. Come back to it in a few hours, maybe 24 hours, and if you still feel excited about buying it, then buy it. Otherwise, if that excitement has passed, then you never really needed that anyways. I'm going to do the same thing with games. And in terms of tackling my queued games, I need to completely empty this queued folder that I have and start anew because I can't have this many games begging for my attention. I think I'm just going to keep it to a maximum of 3 because that's kind of what I do with reading, and it allows me to bounce between the books while not getting burnt out. So hopefully keeping a very small rotation of games that I want to play allows me to do wonders with finishing them, especially when they're different genres of varying lengths. I will probably make an update to this video sometime in the future, but I don't know when. It kind of all depends on how I think I'm tracking with this mini project. However, I am curious, do you also have the same issue? And if so, what are you doing to fix it? I'm interested to hear, so put it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.